The Nirvana Nevermind album came out 20 years ago on Tuesday of this week.
Even if I'd sweet surrender, even if I kiss you in the moonlight.
This exhibition we're going to go to is to honor that, and I believe there's a bunch of musical instruments from Nirvana and the other bands of that same period of time.
Well, they were just another band at the time. They had no name for the band. They didn't have their own drummer. So it was Chris and Kurt coming to my studio and just saying, hey, we just want to record some songs. We don't know what we're going to call the band yet. And this was in January of 1988. I think maybe they'd heard some of the Soundgarden recordings I had already done, because I did record Soundgarden's first record, and it was before that first Nirvana recording. We did 10 songs in one afternoon, and I thought, this is pretty good. These guys are tight. The songs are good. I like the singer. I like the way he plays guitar. Hey guys, can I keep a copy of the tape? I want to play it for some people. And so they said yes, and I gave some copies of it to various people, including the local record label Sub Pop. So a year later, I was recording the band's first album, which became known as Bleach. Nirvana actually did fairly well for themselves as an independent rock band, an indie band as we call it, and eventually got signed to a major label 3 years later, and you know the rest of the story.
Well, the first time that I met Kurt and Chris was in San Francisco on a Skin Yard tour, and we all went to a club. It was a nightclub called the I-Beam, and they were going to see Dave Grohl. He was playing in his punk rock band, Scream, and they were checking him out to see about having him play with Nirvana. We saw the band playing, and Dave was playing amazingly well, and I leaned over to Chris Novoselic and I said, I don't think you need to audition Dave. I think you better get him in your band immediately. And then they did, of course. I remember Jack and I talking to Kurt and Chris Novoselic, because this is before cell phones. Nobody has email. And they'd already been in Europe when their record came out. And Jack and I went up to them and we said, do you know that your record is becoming this huge phenomenon? It's climbing the Billboard chart and selling, well, like we said, it's selling thousands of copies. And they would go on to sell millions of copies, but they didn't know.
É uma série que é sensacional. A última vez que eu vi ele de tão perto foi quando assisti o show do Nirvana. Manda bem pro Chris, se quiser tocar, a gente pode botar um segundo baixista na banda, sem problema. Tranquilo, né? Se o Jack quiser, Jack é o chefe.
Hey, this is Kim Kyle. I think we were referring to this guy a little earlier. This is Jack and Dino. We saw him walking at the bottom of the stairs without a beer. So we brought him up here to continue his not beering.
Jack, thank you. Thanks, Kim.
I think everybody knows Jack either because he's produced one of their records, or he's just kind of ubiquitous with Seattle music because he produced the first Nirvana, the first Soundgarden, the first Mudhoney, the first Tad. I think at this point Jack is known around the world as one of these guys that produces records in the underground. Sometimes they become huge records like Nirvana, but most of the time they're underground, but everybody knows they're pretty cool records. I think everybody in Seattle, if you're in the music scene, you should probably know who Jack, even if you don't know him, you should know who he is. By the late 80s, popular music in the United States was really bad. It was this spandex big hair, terrible heavy metal pop music. And grunge was this response to that.